obvious. Oh, yeah, dude. Now you give me the giggles.
Okay, you're good to go, and I have it enabled. Yeah.
From. All right, because it's important that it does, because otherwise.
Yeah,
did you start recording it or no?
They can stop.
All right. Check. Okay. Yeah, you know, the font just, it got hacked. So Hacking the Next Generation, thanks for joining us today at the Cyber Frontier. Here is our first Star Trek meme. All right, I know, corny name. And sorry for using Cyber Riker. I'm sure you're not too happy about it, but life goes on. And that is the last Star Trek meme pun in this presentation. So my generation remembers when technology was complex and it had certain kinds of basic skills, right, Frank? You're part of my generation. These skills were things like reading, typing, and patience. But today, right? But today, through mobility and consumerization of IT, this current generation, they don't have those requirements.
Okay. And 1492.
Is it okay to share your password with people? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay to share your passcode with people.
We know better.
So we know better. But he's almost 4 now. So last year when my son was 2, and he really didn't speak that much, and then he had a tablet and he was getting into YouTube and other things that are on there, again, mobility and the ability to just do certain things without needing tech support. When we put a passcode on it, he learned the passcode, which is really cool, but even today he still recites it out loud. We're still working on that. So part of that though is because kids are wired to learn, right? And if it's something that's fun for them, they're going to do it, and they're going to get really good at it. So when I think back to my youth, and Frank is going to troll me again, I used to spend a lot of time reading these tomes that had tables and matrices in them that were pretty complex and pretty dry in order to play Dungeons and Dragons a little better, right? Because I had an incentive. I had a hard time focusing on my education because there really was no incentive for me. And that's why we created Hack for Kids. So, if you believe we're responsible to teach this next generation, then you and I have a lot in common. Because it is our responsibility to teach this generation internet safety, best practices, and give them a safe environment to explore STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. But we got to make it fun. So we got to use how they're wired for their own good, whether they like it or not. So a little bit more about how Hack for Kids was created and when it started to happen. So back in 2013, I see this tweet go out with a few people's names on there that you see, who wanted to start ThoughtCon Kids. And for a long time, deep inside of me, I had this kind of burn to create a con or to do something like that. Not with kids, just kind of bring a community together. But I didn't really quite know what it was. And there was really no need to create a con in Chicago. There was already one there. So I was thinking of all these other things like swap meets and bringing that back. But I just was like, no. And then when I saw this, I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. So I contacted them, and I was very excited when they accepted the fact that I could be the 5th person help organizing this event. That really kind of spoke to me in a way, being a parent of 3. But then, ThoughtCon, the board, got together, and they decided they really didn't want to expand into a kids event. So that fire inside of me was burning, but it kind of went to a smolder, and just kind of being deflated and still wanting to do something like this. I just kind of hung my head for a while and pondered on it until then one day I said, well, why don't I just do it on my own. So I contacted them, and they were cool with it, and they said, go for it. And we created Hack for Kids in 2014, and this is the opening ceremonies from last year in Chicago at the Civic Opera Center. And it was great. We had a good amount of attendance. We had a lot of kids that learned and had a lot of fun. Some other things that we had there were things like homemade hacks. So somebody brought in their robot, made from a galvanized garbage can and pail with some Arduino, and a tablet showing our website. We also were able to get a donation from Elenco, who are the creator of that award-winning Snap Circuits. I'm not obligated by contract to say that. I say it because it's true. And the kids had a great time learning electrical engineering. Then this year, one of the things that one of the kids came to me, one of my son's friends, and said, "Hey, do you think we could do a scavenger hunt this year at Hack for Kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me think about it. We'll come up with something." So we printed up some 3D cases for Arduinos. We put the items that needed to be found on the Arduino, and in the sketch, we just set it up to use Morse code. So if they kind of got stuck and they needed to go find it, they had to learn Morse code. So we're teaching them to do something, which is kind of like a dying skill, if you ask me. Morse code. Who knows Morse code from memory? I don't. See, nobody raised their hands. You know what it is, but nobody knows it anymore. And that's one of the things we wanted to do, kind of like revitalize that stuff. And they loved it. They had a great time. And here's a picture of the wildly successful Technology Destruction Village. Essentially, we're teaching them technology reverse engineering. So I remember as a kid taking apart that large piece of furniture my parents had. They called a TV. I took the back off, and I started pulling out all the transistors. The first time I did it, I just turned the TV off and burned myself. There was no mentor around to say, you should maybe wait for those bulbs to cool down. Or unplug the TV. Yeah. They were big, giant, right. So, well...
I learned some lessons.
I learned some lessons that day. And so in this environment, or even now, so if you give your kid your smartphone, or if they have one, or a tablet, or a laptop, or whatever, what do you tell them to? Don't take it apart, right? But here we're saying, take it apart. Go ahead. Nobody is going to get in trouble. We want you to do it and safely. And I think one of our only injuries was somebody who got cut with some of the equipment, but it was staff. So really, which is a good thing, in my opinion, because it's staff instead of a kid. Not that they got hurt, but, you know, I hope you understand what I mean. So a little bit more, what is Hack for Kids? First and foremost, we think it's important that we're a charity. We're a registered public 501c3 charity. So that means that everything that we bring in from donations, and thank you to the people who were out there bringing in donations to help us, we're just giving it back to the kids. And it gives us certain tax benefits because we're really not trying to make a profit. This is really about giving back to the kids as much as we can. And again, the simple mantra, this is the real takeaway if someone says, oh, you know, what is Hack for Kids? It's a conference for kids to teach them internet safety and best practices while exploring science and technology. I think that's really the simplest and easiest way to explain it to them. One of the other really cool things is this InfoSec community, because when I had that burning inside of me to create a con, I really didn't know too many people, you know, familiar faces at different cons, but I really wasn't in the community. And once they start to trust you, and it does take some time, they really open themselves up. Like, the kimono is wide open. Right, Frank? Kimono, you have it upstairs. Did I pronounce it wrong?
Right. Frank's kimono is going to be open up.
Right, so Frank's kimono is going to be open up later if anybody wants to see. The troll, the obvious troll. So here, we were able to partner with Circle City Con this year. So we did like a light version of Hack for Kids, and we did a Hack for Kids Village. So parents were dropping their kids off, and kids were just exploring STEM, and they were doing stuff, and they were in a junior CTF where they were winning prizes, and they had a great time. We provided incentives, we gave them a safe place to learn, and we were just basically using their natural curiosity for the betterment. So we were in Indianapolis. Next week, we're going to be in Ghent, Belgium, in partnership with BrewCon, which I'm really excited about this, because now it's the first Hack for Kids done in another language. It's non-English. It's going to be in Dutch and French. So I'm basically useless, because I only really speak English. So the staff speak English, but all the kids, I can say, you know, something to them like hi, and they might get it. But I think it's really cool that we're going to have all the content in 2 languages. So if they speak French, they have the content there. If they speak Dutch, they have the content there. And even our Safe and Secure online presentation is going to be done done in both languages. We also partnered with the folks in Grand Rapids at Derbycon, and we're going to be there on October 10th on Saturday in juxtaposition with the regular conference, and some of the volunteers are in this room right now. Thank you for your support, because without the volunteers, none of this would happen. It's everybody's contribution that brings us together. Now, maybe inside of you you have that same kind of burning desire where you want to start your own con, or you already have a con and you want to add this to your con. Well, don't do it alone. Use our experience, use the lessons that we've learned to help it make it easier for you. And there's just certain things related to child safety and just some best practices that we've learned that you can also benefit from without making these mistakes. So we have a Google form that's available online. Don't worry about writing this down. This is a Prezi. It's going to be available. This is all being recorded. So just kind of enjoy the presentation for what it is now. But unfortunately, that's about the length of the form. Enter your IRL name. It's a thing to do for me to finish it off, but if you want to give me your card today after this presentation, we can exchange through email and have a conversation. Now, at Hack for Kids, if you haven't gotten the message yet, we take youth protection very, very seriously. It's one of my other kids playing a video game, but what we really mean by youth protection is because a lot of my training also comes from the Boy Scouts of America, or the BSA. I'm a scouter. I have to get youth protection trained every 2 years. I have to keep it current in order to be around the Scouts. So rest assured, someone like me, yep, youth protection, he's got it right there. Someone like me is also being monitored by another organization that's greater than Hack for Kids. But some of their principles and their fundamentals we've adopted. So for example, one of them they call Too Deep Leadership. Kind of think about it, and maybe a few of you have the same exact meaning, or somebody has a different meaning. What that really means, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. There's always going to be no less than 2 adults per 1 kid. Now, and that's to actually really protect both sides of the party. So if you ever have a 1-to-1 situation, it's your word against theirs, and more than likely the kid's word's going to be taken to be the truth. So that's why we do it. It's to protect the adults as well. Now then you get into the situation, what about the restrooms? It's really kind of common sense. You go into a restroom, there's a kid, you walk out, you wait. If you're in the restroom and there's a kid, you hurry up and finish your business and get out.
Now, when it comes to volunteers,
we're very, very careful about the volunteers. We're very, very careful about the volunteers as well. You have to be vetted by someone on the board or someone that's on staff in order to become a volunteer for Hack for Kids. So we do have an online form that's always active, but it's not public. We don't want to have to go through and vet every single person. It's really through either someone that knows somebody for like way more than a year, and not just, hey, I see you once a year at Derbycon, I think you're a pretty good person, I trust you. No, no, no. It's not that simple. Or if it's somebody that we don't really have someone involved with the community, if they're doing something with a third-party organization, let's just say they're a soccer coach, and that organization every year makes them go through background checks, and they're willing to write a letter to say, yup, we've known Bob for 5 years, and Bob's great around the kids, and Bob's safe. Bob could then potentially be a Hack for Kids volunteer. So this guy may not qualify.
When it comes to photography,
there's another thing that we have also some strict policies on as well. While we do have staff photographers and parents have phones, we do communicate with the parents in the beginning of the conference that it's really important that if they're taking a picture of their tyro, and I'll explain what that word means shortly, that other kids or other tyros are out of frame, or wait until that, it's just their kid, or just kind of change it, because we don't want anyone to be accused of any situation of doing anything that they did not have any malintent with. And it's very easy these days with social media, correct? So even the staff photographers, they might take frontal photos as well as they're instructed to take more back or side shots so that we can use that in any documents or on our website to kind of show people like, oh, look at all the fun the tyros are having. So in this particular example, nobody knows who this tyro is, probably maybe his friends, siblings, and parents or relatives, right? Nobody knows. I don't even know who this kid is. And he's there busy doing something that looks really cool. He's building a circuit to shoot a propeller off, and then he's got an Arduino in front of him, so he probably did the Morse code too. Sorry? No, never mind. I thought I heard a question. Here's another example. There's a curly-haired tyro. We don't know if that's a boy or a girl. This is a great, perfect example. But there's a parent helping the kid with the project. I know the kid. I know the kid. So moving on to something else. As cool as 3D printing is, this year we decided to do something a little bit fun, and we printed their badges for them. So we sat down, we designed the badge, and it was actually kind of by accident. But then it really worked out, and we gave them the glider symbol is on there, so you can see the dots. But then we created a symbol specifically for them, and it's called the tyro symbol. So tyro means novice or learner, kind of like Padawan, but we didn't want to use that because we might be sued. So we went with tyro, which is a genuine word, and when I was trying to figure out what this symbol could look like, I came across the arrow-looking kind of symbol, which is a Nordic letter, meaning strength or warrior, and it's called Tyr, T-Y-R. Well, to finish off the word, added a circle, so there's Tyro, but now, in addition to strength and warrior, the circle represents the unity of the hacker community. Trolls don't laugh. And the hacker's never-ending thirst for knowledge. All right? So I think that's a really cool symbol, and it belongs to the tyros. It's theirs. Adult badges do not have this. If you're a child or a tyro speaker, you get this on your speaker badge. It's pretty cool stuff. I get chills talking about it. I get them right now, by the way. And it's upside down, so when you saw the previous view of it, it looked like it was upside down. So this way, when they hold their badge up and they're looking at it, it's upright to them. So it's kind of a secret code, so if an adult's looking at it upside down, they don't know what it is. Little fun. So, why and where Hack for Kids? So if you've heard of DEF CON Kids, which is now Roots Asylum, great conference. I got the opportunity to go, and I was guided around. I had a tour guide with me. They did not let us wander alone. Good security, good safety for the kids. Great conference, but they're always going to be once a year in Vegas. Hack Kids is based out of San Jose. Another great con, but they're also once a year in San Jose. So what's the common denominator there? West Coast, right? So Hack for Kids is really intended to be global. We're building a global, you could say, name or familiar or brand, whatever you want to call it. I don't really think of it as a brand, but the idea here is to have it available to anyone who wants to do this globally. So we started in Chicago, we went to Indianapolis, we're going to Grand Rapids, and we're going again. So if you want to do something also in your area, let us know. We'll talk to you. Now, I think that slide was mislabeled. So here's some of the content that we do at Hack for Kids. So the presentations, they're all, not all. The idea is to really have youth-based presentations. So someone who's a new speaker or an established speaker or just has a really good idea and they just want to kind of share it, that's what we're about. But we don't have age limits. So regardless if you're 8 to 80, you're welcome to present at Hack for Kids if it's appropriate for that age group. But we do encourage younger speakers because we just feel that generation gap is going to, or the generation bond is going to be a lot stronger. We have activity stations. So this is the STEM activity station, but we can do anything from Python for Kids, the Technology Destruction Village, Spy Math. How cool does that sound? If we told you you're going to be doing like crypto and number theory, you'd be like, eh. But with Spy Math, I'm all on that. And just a whole other wide range of things. And we try to change it up. So every year we keep the snap circuits and stuff that we know people love or the tyros love, like the Technology Destruction Village, because I know I like taking stuff apart. But we kind of change it up so it's interesting. We also do workshops. I don't know if you guys recognize Beltface. He was giving a workshop this year in Chicago. So we do workshops. So those are more concentrated. The activity stations are really designed to be about 20 minutes or longer up to the tyro. These are usually at least 2 hours. And then we have a mandatory Safe and Secure Online presentation. Here is Robert Wagner. He's one of the board members delivering the Safe and Secure Online presentation. So we're in alliance with ISC Squared, if you're familiar with that group. And he's talking about specifically here anti-cyberbullying. That kind of talks to our internet safety. And best practices.
Now, kind of back to this young man.
So you guys know he's speaking here. I think he's actually speaking right now. That's Ruben Paul. Yep. He was our very first keynote. Who more appropriate to deliver the very first keynote than a 9-year-old focused on cyber protection for kids? And it was great. It was so well received. The kids loved it. They go, he's pretty cool. And if they were older than him, they're like, well, if he could do it, I could do this. And that's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to ignite that fire inside of them that might have been smoldering.
In this particular
kind of just recycled the images. This one, in this STEM station, the Tyro was learning how to build a catapult out of popsicle sticks, a glue gun, rubber band, and a plastic spoon. It sounds like something from MacGyver. But they're actually building this. They built these catapults, and we didn't know, and this was unanticipated, when they started having some, they started balling up little pieces of paper and then having a competition who could shoot it further. I thought that was pretty cool when I walked by. I'm like, what are they doing? Oh, they're having a competition. They're actually using what they built, and then they get to take it home and like shoot marshmallows or whatever at their siblings.
So this was the
sheet. So we provide a sheet. We have some instruction. We kind of step through it, give them an idea of what it needs to do, what they need to do. And in this particular case, if you see like the gear and that little circle there, again, going back to scouting, if they're going to do something, give them an incentive. So if they're a scout, then they can also earn achievements towards their STEM Nova Award. So instead of them just saying, hey, I went to Hack for Kids and I did all this stuff, I'm a certified or registered, whatever you want to call it, STEM Nova Counselor in Illinois. I'm going to become a mentor later, which just means the projects get harder. But this way I can say, yep, I know they did this and this is what the qualifications are. And the parents love it because they go home and now they say their kid is good to go.
If you have a question, I got to take it later.
If you have a question, I got to take it later because of the time constraint, but I'm definitely going to address your question. In the workshop, here's Bellface teaching them web application pen testing. He's using all the tools a regular web app pen tester would use. He had Burp Suite running, and the kids were learning how to analyze all the traffic and stop the request and then monitor the response. He gave them a challenge after the course was over. He said, whoever would be able to figure out how to inject HTTP into the response would get a prize. And he did it. No, 2 kids did it. They Googled it, they figured out how to do it, and I had to give them gift cards. And I wasn't even planning on doing it. But I'm happy to. I'm incredibly happy to. So that was a really good workshop. But we do other ones, like Frank is doing a Raspberry Pi workshop for us at GERCON. And it's going to be cool because not only like, I got a Raspberry Pi, yeah, I'm going to build a microserver. No, they're going to learn robotics. He's going to put a little servo motor on them and teach them beginning robotics. I mean, how cool is that?
When it comes to the Python for Kids station.
When it comes to the Python for Kids station, I'm okay on time?
So when it comes to the Python for Kids station.
So when it comes to the Python for Kids station, again, it's building on the knowledge. So if they've never used Python before, here's a concept and then an exercise. Build on the concept, here's another exercise. Until they get to a point where they're actually doing some challenges. And when they complete the challenges, they get a token or some kind of recognition, which is an entry into the drawing at the end of the day, where they can win some cool prizes, anything from a $10 gift card all the way up to their own virtual Minecraft server or a $150 Snap Circuit kit. I mean, we've given away some big prizes. And then here's some other challenges, like the Fibonacci series was an interesting one.
Now, what if the kid
or the Tyro couldn't make it? We have a library online. So this is the content from 2014. They can definitely go on there and do some of the challenges and the content that we had available. When this year is over, I'm hoping to get it done before the New Year's. We're going to take all the 2015 content and make it available and keep expanding on this library, not just for kids who went there and can say, I want to do a review, but what about the kids who can't make it for whatever the reasons may be? Here's a learning place where they can go, just an education opportunity.
Now the prizes we give, I got
to talk about the prizes. This is the incentive part. That's a $150 retail kit. We gave 2 of those away so far. That's pretty cool, considering it's like a $40 ticket for the kid to enter.
Partnered with
No Starch Press. They gave us a bunch of books like Python for Kids or Ruby Wizardry, etc., so that these kids can then learn even more, and then some other swag like stickers and stuff to give away. Arduinos, so they got to use the Arduino, and then some of them got to walk away with an Arduino in their own custom Tyro Hack for Kids case, which is pretty cool. And then,
who knows what this is?
DC Darknet badge.
It's the DC Darknet badge. So last year when I went to DEF CON, I was able to bring back a couple of them, and we gave them away at Hack for Kids. And the kids love them. It's a $20 soldering kit project, and one of the kids picked this over the $150 snap circuit kit, and his dad was like, no, 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 you want that, we're taking the big money one. And it was kind of cute, but the kid was like, okay, but he got what he really wanted, which was that kit, and the parent was pretty happy because they saved a ton of money. The folks at the DC Darknet project, they're awesome. They gave us several more badges to give away this year and next. So when we go to BrewCon, we're going to have a couple to give away, and at GurCon, we'll have a couple to give away, and even more for next year, which I, again, get chills when I say that because they're awesome. Moving on down the road. All right. So how do we know if Hack for Kids is working or not? Well, it's a hard thing to know. So first you got the Safe and Secure Online presentation, right? What does that mean? How do we know if there's feedback? Well, you don't unless somebody tells you a story that, yeah, this worked and got me out of a cyberbullying situation, but we don't know. But it's hard. I mean, we're trying to figure that out. Surveys is another way. The challenge with surveys is sometimes people fill them out quickly, and the data is wrong. For example, the first item there was how many Hack for Kids attended. I asked my 9-year-old. He gave me an answer that I was expecting. I asked my wife, and this is not to malign my wife in case she watches this, but she gave me a different answer because she read it differently. So that's a challenge. If you do surveys, you got to test it on different people in different age groups. People are just putting in number 4. I'm like, why is number 4? It's circle 1. They thought that meant 4 kids that were there. I was not expecting that. And then there's just a series of ways. So make it easy for them. Give them something to circle. Another problem with that, some of the kids went to one workshop, and you're only allowed to go to one, but they circled an answer for both.
How do you normalize that?
How do you normalize that?
So here's some of the stats that
put together here. And we're almost done. This year, we had 53 participants, which was about 20% growth from last year. Last year we had 40 kids registered, but actually 38 showed up. This year we had 53 registered, and I think we actually had 53 show up, which was pretty damn good. So you can see the gender breakdown. 39 boys, 14 girls. 36 boys, it was their first time attending, and 12 girls, it was their first time attending. 2 girls, 2 boys, second time attending a Hack for Kids. 1 kid has gone to all 3 because I'm related to him. The age range is interesting because this tells us, are we talking to the right audience? Is this appropriate for teenagers? We had a really low number of teenagers. Maybe we should do another one that's specific to teenagers, kind of like how Cyber Patriot is. Or, are we just not getting to the high schools soon enough? So stations that based on their popularity, the Technology Destruction Village, most popular, everybody loved it, got a bunch of 5s. Most attended, Lock-Picking Village. Who doesn't want to pop a lock, especially when you're young, right? You don't want to, or you do want to. When you're young, that's your first level of security, right? You see a lock and you want to know how it works and you want to get past it, especially if there might be something behind it that you want, like cookies. So 20 kids went to the Lock-Picking Village. 12 of them popped the 5-pin. 1 of them popped all the pins before that. 6 popped 6-pin, and only 1 of them popped everything before it. And then you can see 9 kids popped the cuffs, but 1 kid went right to the cuffs, popped the cuffs, and moved on. They never did any of the other locks. Interesting, right? Interesting data. Network security section, there were 9 kids. Of the 9, we had 9 do all exercises, and then there was a hidden file challenge. And of those, we had 7 of 9. Sorry, bad Star Trek. Do that. Python for Kids, 10 kids showed up. Out of 10, out of the 10, all did the first 3 exercises. 2 were only able to finish the second challenge, the Fibonacci series. None of them got. Maybe it's not the right audience. Spy Math, the crypto, 7 of 8 did it. 2 actually provided proofs. We did not ask for proofs, but 2 did it. That's pretty interesting. Technology Destruction Village, 14 kids went there. 5 of them identified all the components, but like all of them knew what a capacitor was. Again, more interesting data. Here are some comments. People had a really good time, good data, good feedback. Here's the wrap up. If you want to do your own Hack for Kids, talk to me in the hallway. We can discuss this further. If you have any questions about attending one, talk to me in the hallway.
Here is our social media, at Hack for Kids, at D. Schwartzberg, and thank you, Mobile Iron. I'm a Mobile Iron employee. They sponsored me to be here, so this is obviously not a product pitch, but I do want to thank them. And again, this is Hacking the Next Generation, the Cyber Frontier. I'm Dave Schwartzberg, and thank you very much for your time today.